what I'm about to tell you might get this video taken down. For decades, you've been told a story that the American system is fair, that everyone plays by the same rules, that you, me, and billionaires all pay taxes under the exact same system. But here's the truth. That's the biggest lie you've ever been sold. Right now, as you watch this, the wealthiest 1% are moving billions of dollars, not through shady backroom deals, but through perfectly legal loopholes, offshore tax havens, and hidden trusts. Loopholes that were carefully written into the law for them, not for you. These people don't break the rules, they write the rules. And every year, while you watch more of your paycheck vanish, they quietly keep more of theirs, building empires that you'll never even see. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is how the system was built. To protect the powerful and keep the rest of us running in circles. Today I'm going to expose the exact playbook they use. The mechanisms, the secret networks, and the insiders who protect them. And when you see it all laid out, you won't just be angry. You'll be ready to fight back with the same knowledge they've been hiding from you. If you stay until the end, you'll know exactly how to flip the game in your favor. And why no one in power wants you to hear what I'm about to say. You think America runs on hard work? It doesn't. It runs on strategy. And the people at the very top have been perfecting that strategy for generations. I remember the first time I saw it up close. I was a fresh college graduate, working my first real job, sitting in a dusty back office going through financial reports for a wealthy client. And there it was, in black and white. A man who earned more in a single month than I'd make in a decade, yet paid less in taxes than my own paycheck took out every 2 weeks. I couldn't believe it. My whole life I'd been told, play fair, follow the rules, and you'll get ahead. But the rules weren't the same for him. He had a system, one so invisible to the average American that even if you saw it, you'd think it was fiction. That day changed me. I started pulling at the threads. Offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands, trusts in South Dakota, shell companies registered in Delaware with no employees and no office, just a brass plate on a door. And every single move was perfectly legal. That was the shocking part. These weren't criminals hiding in the shadows. They were business owners, celebrities, politicians, smiling in front of cameras while quietly funneling millions into structures designed to protect their money from the very government they help run. And you know what? They didn't even do most of the work themselves. They had teams, elite accountants, lawyers, lobbyists, all working together to make sure their fortunes stayed untouched. Meanwhile, average Americans fight over tax refunds and minimum wage increases, completely unaware that the real game is happening miles above them. The irony? Every law that allows this was passed with your vote in mind. Campaign speeches promising fairness, while the fine print hid the traps you'd fall into and the escape routes they'd use. I've sat across from these people. I've heard them laugh about how the rules don't apply to the smart ones. And they're right. Not because they're smarter than you, but because they've been shown the playbook you were never meant to see. If you think this is just about billionaires, you're wrong. There's an entire class of upper-middle insiders, business owners, investors, even influencers, who've tapped into the same methods, quietly building wealth while the rest of the country struggles with credit card debt and rising rent. This is where the gap becomes permanent. Once you learn these systems, your money starts working for you. And once they learn you know it, you're no longer part of the game they control. You're a threat to it. I remember sitting in a dimly lit cafe in New York, across from a man everyone thought was broke. He wore worn-out sneakers, a hoodie with a small tear near the pocket, and ordered nothing but black coffee. To anyone watching, he looked like someone barely making ends meet. But in reality, he owned 3 luxury condos in Miami, a private jet, and a string of tech startups generating millions a year. How? He'd mastered what the wealthy call strategic invisibility. He didn't just hide his money. He made it look like he never had any to begin with. No flashy cars in his name, no properties tied directly to him, and no bank account showing a big balance. Everything was under LLCs, trusts, or managers who officially owned the assets. And while the average person thinks hiding wealth is shady or illegal, this guy was doing it all within the boundaries of US law. He leaned in over the table and told me, "The secret isn't to make more money. The secret is to make money differently." I didn't understand what he meant until he walked me through it. Regular Americans trade time for money, a job, a salary, maybe a side hustle. But the ultra-wealthy? They trade assets for more assets. They take a building, use it as collateral for a loan, invest that loan into a business, and use the business profits to pay off the loan while keeping ownership of both the building and the company. And the craziest part? They write off the interest as a business expense, reducing their taxable income. That's when it hit me. The rich don't just earn money. They manufacture it out of thin air using the rules the government itself wrote. Meanwhile, you and I get told to save a few dollars by skipping Starbucks. But he wasn't arrogant about it. In fact, he was dead serious when he said, "Anyone can learn this. The only reason most people don't is because no one's willing to show them without charging thousands." That conversation burned into my mind. For the first time, I realized wealth wasn't about luck or intelligence. It was about playing a game you didn't even know existed. And if you could get access to the rulebook, everything in your life could change. I walked out of that cafe and into a world I could never unsee. A world where the poor stay poor, the middle class fights to survive, and the wealthy quietly build an empire behind the curtain. That's when I made a decision. I wouldn't just watch from the outside anymore. I was going to find that rulebook, no matter how deep I had to dig. The deeper I dug, the more shocking it became. It wasn't just one guy in that cafe, it was an entire network. Real estate moguls who never paid capital gains taxes because they exchanged properties instead of selling them. Hedge fund managers who lived in mansions but technically had zero income on paper. Even some small-town millionaires were playing the same game. Farmers who used depreciation rules to write off tractors they didn't even need. Tech entrepreneurs who paid themselves in stock options instead of cash to avoid payroll taxes. The average American has no idea these tools even exist. Schools don't teach it. Most financial advisors don't talk about it. And if you Google it, you'll drown in vague articles and legal jargon designed to confuse you. But when you step inside this hidden world, you realize something chilling. The system is built to keep regular people in the dark. The laws are public, but the interpretation of those laws, that's where the real magic happens. And only a select few know how to bend them without breaking them. I started interviewing people, lawyers, accountants, ex-IRS agents, and what they told me made my head spin. There's something called the invisible income stream. It's money you control but don't technically own, so it's never taxed the same way your paycheck is. Billionaires use it all the time. They borrow against assets instead of selling them, meaning they get cash without triggering a taxable event. They reinvest that money into new ventures, which then generate more assets to borrow against, creating a cycle that compounds their wealth without them losing a single dollar to the taxman. Meanwhile, the rest of us work overtime just to cover rising grocery bills. I remember one retired IRS investigator telling me, "The rich don't play the same game as you. You're playing checkers, they're playing chess, and the board you're on isn't even the same one." That's when I realized, this wasn't just about learning a few tricks. This was about rewiring my brain to think like the wealthy, to see money not as something you earn and spend, but as a tool you shape, multiply, and protect. And if you could master that mindset, you could step into a completely different reality. One where financial freedom wasn't just possible, it was inevitable. But here's the part that blew my mind. The game isn't even about making more money anymore. It's about controlling time. Wealthy Americans don't measure their success by their salary. They measure it by how little they have to work while their money works for them. I met a man in Miami who retired at 32. Not because he hit the lottery, but because he discovered a loophole in the tax code that allowed him to reinvest nearly 100% of his profits without paying a dime in taxes that year. He funneled everything into high-yield, low-risk investments, and the income from those alone now covers his entire lifestyle. Beachfront condo, sports cars, first-class flights, without him touching his main assets. And this is the thing. It's all legal, but it's hidden behind a wall of complexity, a language you're never taught to speak. Banks and governments benefit from keeping you financially illiterate, because if you did learn these rules, you'd stop being their best customer. You'd stop living paycheck to paycheck. You'd stop carrying high-interest debt, and you'd start playing their game. The truth is, in America, there are two economies. The one you see, where people work 40, 50, even 60 hours a week just to survive. And the one you don't see, where the truly wealthy operate in a system of perpetual growth. They're not afraid of recessions because they profit from them. They're not afraid of inflation because their assets rise with it. They're not afraid of taxes because they've already built the maze that money runs through, and the IRS can't even keep up. When I pieced this together, I understood why the gap between rich and poor keeps getting wider. It's not an accident. It's the result of decades of building a game where the rules are public, but the winning strategies are guarded like state secrets. And here's the uncomfortable truth. No one is going to hand you those strategies. You either figure them out or you stay in the cycle forever. That's when I made the decision. I wasn't just going to learn the game. I was going to master it and then show others how to break in. So I started testing these strategies in real time. Not reading about them in a book, not watching someone else do it on YouTube. I put my own money on the line. Small amounts at first, like $500 into a tax-advantaged account I'd never even heard of before. Within months, I saw a 14% return without lifting a finger. Then I learned about asset layering. holding different classes of investments in a specific sequence that maximizes returns and minimizes tax exposure. It sounded complicated until I realized the ultra-wealthy have teams doing this for them. But you can replicate it with a few hours of research and the right software. I watched my monthly passive income tick upward. 200, 450 monthly. That's when it hit me. I was no longer trading time for money. I was trading knowledge for freedom. And that's the part no one tells you. Freedom isn't a number in your bank account. It's the ability to wake up every morning and decide exactly how you want to spend your day. The more I leaned into this system, the more doors opened. I networked with real estate investors who revealed how they buy entire properties with none of their own cash. I sat in on private webinars with hedge fund managers who casually discussed making 7 figures from market volatility. Moves the average investor would never even think of. And slowly I began to see the matrix. The ads on TV selling you quick fixes? Distractions. The fear-mongering headlines telling you the economy is collapsing? Noise. The real opportunities are quiet, boring, and hidden in plain sight. Most people will never look for them because they're too busy surviving. But if you do start looking, you'll find a hidden network of knowledge, tools, and leverage points that can completely change your trajectory. And I'm telling you, once you see it, you can't unsee it. You'll start recognizing patterns, loopholes, and plays that the wealthy have been using for decades. And the best part? You don't need millions to start. You just need the courage to step outside the script you've been handed your whole life and start writing your own. And here's the truth. Nothing changes unless you decide it's going to. You can keep scrolling, keep waiting for that perfect moment, keep telling yourself you'll start tomorrow, or you can take the first real step right now. I'm not here to sell you a dream. I'm here to hand you the keys. Everything you've just heard isn't theory. It's a roadmap. The same roadmap people like me followed to break out of the rat race and into complete control over our time, our money, and our future. Because here's what they'll never admit on TV or in school. No one is coming to save you. Not the government, not your boss, not the economy. The world rewards those who take action when everyone else hesitates. If you're ready to be one of them, this is your moment. I'll keep giving you the unfiltered truth, the tools, and the strategies that Wall Street hopes you never find out about. But you have to meet me halfway. Hit that subscribe button right now, turn on the bell so you never miss a drop, and share this video with the one friend who refuses to settle. Because in the next video, I'm going to take you even deeper into strategies that could make the difference between barely surviving the next decade and becoming completely untouchable. The choice is yours. You can watch from the sidelines, or you can start building the life you know you deserve. Either way, the clock is ticking.